Hey everyone, Aaron here with Solitude Springs Farm and Vineyard, giving you a spring tour. As you can see, we're under about 30 inches of snow right now, and it started to melt, I guess, about a week and a half ago, but then it stopped. And yesterday morning it was 2 below at the farm here, so this week it's supposed to warm up again, and hopefully some of this will melt away, but not too fast because it causes problems in other areas. So anyway, we're going to walk down here. This is above the house on the road. It's the top of the lot, and have a apple tree. I think that's Schaefer. And then back here is the food forest that we're going to need to work on this year. There's too much alder in here. It shades everything. And we have a apple tree there, which is a parkland, and a Norland. These parklands and Norlands up here are from Home Depot, so they're on a funky rootstock that doesn't allow them to do as well as other Norlands and stuff up here. But anyway, so we've got another apple tree there. That's Zestar, which is recovering from damage that sustained several years ago when I wrapped it in black wrap for the winter, which it wasn't taken off, and then the bark got fried basically, and then froze at night and split the bark all open. So another one back here, that's probably Parkland again, and then a Norland back there. Then we have a Norland here. This is our biggest tree. It's probably, with 30 inches of snow plus on the ground. It looks like it's maybe deeper than that up here, because that tree is probably 8 or 9 feet tall. Unfortunately, last fall we saw that the voles had completely girdled the bottom of it. In August during rain and stuff, when I wasn't able to get out here and mow the grass down, and so I think that tree's dead, unfortunately. This is another parkland here, and then miscellaneous. I think that's Venarius maybe. A few others poking up around here of different types that are more the Alaska type, so hardy but slow growing. And so then we're gonna go down. This next week we'll be digging out, oh my gosh, digging out the melt pond, which is usually right about there, that area there of melt pond, where I just dig the snow out. I've got some logs set up so that it holds, it makes the sides of a plastic piece bow up, and so I pile snow inside of it, and then plastic and the warm air melt the snow that I pile in the middle of the plastic, and then it runs down to this tank right here, through a PVC pipe, and we fill that tank up with the melt pond. I have Duke and Chica out here. Let's see, so here is a Norland on the right rootstock. Actually, it's not even right rootstock. It's it is on Antonovka rootstock. So it's, if we had a cold winter and it was no snow, there's a possibility that it would freeze out. But it's done great up here, and it just started taking off the last couple of years. So that tree is probably over 8 feet tall now. Got another one back here that's trying to get established. I almost killed it by just not planting it for a couple of years, and it stayed in pots. Didn't like that. That's a yellow transparent. We have a couple of service berries. Let's see, that's a service berry there, that's a service berry there. And our, let's see, right there marks about where our aronia is, that grows so well. It's not one of the selected cultivars, but it grows so much better than they do up here. I mean, that thing is, well, it's good that it's covered because it's not particularly hardy. I think it's hardy only to about 28, 30 degrees below zero. And so the top dies back on it if it's above the snow, but the snow does weigh it down, then it pops back up in the spring. But it produces twice as many berries as the other kind do, and they're much bigger. So, I mean, they're bigger than your pinky. I mean, they're pretty big aronia berries. So here's our buried blueberry patch. We've got a few, let's see, we've got a service berry in there, and then a couple of nut bushes up there that are trying to get settled in. Takes everything a long time to settle in here, probably because I don't take care of it very well. But so anyway, we're going to go down here and solar panels, melting water in the barrel there. And then a couple of weekends ago, we were out here digging this out, and I had to throw snow back on it because it's some fall planted stuff that's not ready to be exposed, I don't think yet, not too below, without any other protection. So it recovered it with snow, but we'll be taking that off, and hopefully something will have survived. Maybe, we'll see. And then there's the tank trailer covered in snow, and I think a squirrel's stashing stuff inside of it. That's not what we want to happen. Our dump truck is full of snow, ready to melt off into barrels that are down here below my finger, but be hidden behind the snow. And let's see, go down here. We are heading down towards the vineyard now. This path is pretty well worn here. Packed, I should say. And so yeah, we're walking on about 30 inches of snow out here. This back in there is one of our raised beds, one that doesn't have peonies in it. The peonies are in raised beds up here. This one doesn't have any peonies in it, and the next one over doesn't have peonies in it, so I'm going to remove the snow from there, get those melted out, because those will actually be ready to plant in about 2 weeks once it starts melting, which is a lot earlier than if I just let the snow sit on them. So down here at the vineyard, and nothing much to see except that the stakes are actually showing this year, which is good. It's about 2 feet less snow than we had last year at this time. Last year you couldn't even see them, they were buried completely. But one thing that is showing above the snow now is the top of Arthur. Of course, this is all dead, top of Arthur, because it didn't harden off as well this year as it did this last fall, as it did in years past, probably because there was more to it. So that's what's sticking up. And those are the tips of shoots that grew out last year from the cordons. And we'll be probably digging it out in 2 weeks or so. If the snow doesn't melt off very fast, we'll dig it out and see what it looks like. It looks like from last fall's video, it looks like maybe only 6 or 8 inches on each shoot hardened off, and each shoot was almost 3 feet long, if not longer. So it didn't harden off very well. We're thinking it might be partly because the vine has reached the size that it can support up here, with the ability to harden it off in the fall. So the vine will probably have to be kept fairly small, or it was too shaded by the orientation we have it in. We have cordons going north-south, and of course the warmest part of the day is, well, in the early afternoon here. It cools off fairly quickly after 3 o'clock, so it may have been too shaded at that time of the day to actually help harden them off. But we'll have to check on that and do a trial, east-west trial, and see if it hardens off better. The things that have hardened off in the past, very little, but the things that have hardened off in the past do better generally in east-west. Okay, so down here we got peonies planted. Let's see, down below us here is flowers, perennial flowers down here, and then over here is our honeyberry patch. I just need to find the honeyberry down there. There's one that's showing up. Let's see. Hard to see out. I think there's one right there. That is berry blue. That's the one that's about 4 feet tall and it's sticking out of the snow. So down there we've got seedling honeyberry, which is one that, if anybody follows that, it's a honeyberry that grew itself up here. We had a seedling sprout in a bucket that did have a borealis or a tundra in it before that. The borealis or tundra died because I kept it above the ground, and wouldn't you know, they don't survive above the ground up here, even in my gentle climate of zone 3B. And so This thing sprouted up, survived the following winter. I didn't even know it had sprouted because the second year, you could tell it already hardened off wood the previous year. So it was sprouting out of wood. And anyway, that one's down there. It ripens very early, has a great flavor, and it will lose all the acid. The berries will actually go flat on that. If you've ever tasted a honeyberry, you know that they're pretty acidic. And that one, you can actually let it ripen to the point where there's no acid left. So that's really nice. And then we have our seaberries down there as well, a male and a female, and we'll see how those do this year. We'll run out here real quick to the landing. It's really icy though, because one of the things about this time of year is that it melts the snow on the uphill side of the driveway. There's the car. On the uphill side, it melts the snow, and that snow runs down the hill and then freezes. So all here is just nothing but about 6 inches of ice. And over here is ice on top of the snow, so I'm going to have to be careful walking. But from the very top here, can't really make them out now because the sun's not the right angle, but there's terraces out there. And currants, gooseberries, apple trees. There's some screens down here. Got screens there. Those are around apple trees. And there's a pear tree out there. 2, 3. Tried to do plums. Oh, and our plum. So over here by the on this side of the path that's going down there, there is a seedling plum that I used as a rootstock for a graft, for a plum that I grafted several years ago. The top finally died. It was a Pembina, which I figured it wouldn't work up here. Most of the plums don't. Even the ones that are discovered around here, in terms of, you know, oh, someone found a plum tree and, you know, from a rootstock, you know, the top fails on it and the bottom sprouts up, and then you've got this wild plum that you're like, okay, well, is it going to develop into something that I can use here? Because a lot of times they don't ripen, or they're not hardy enough, or if they do ripen, they're so sour that you can't use them for anything. And so we had that failed rootstock down there that took off last year with no water, which, you know, if you know us, we don't have much water. We have a lot of water right now, it's just frozen. And this will all run off the ground, off the hillside when it starts melting, and we just haven't gotten a way to capture it yet. So that one grew without water. It grew about 2.5 feet tall, and then it seemed to be shutting down pretty well for the winter, which is the problem I've had with other plums. They don't go dormant early enough, and then they get fried, and they slowly just die out. So we got the terrace view here, and then let's see, right in here we've got our row of pots that I think it's right down here. There's a row of pots in there that have all of our grapevines from last year, so we're really excited to see about Montana 160 and how that comes this year, how it survived the winter, how it sprouts out, if any of the wood that it formed last year was any good, because that's the key to around here, is getting that wood to form and harden off properly in the fall, so that it will then survive the winter. That's the major issue here. Okay, so anyway, so we're going to try and remove all this brush up here this year, and we've got, well, all the raspberries that we planted up there years ago are gone. Well, most of them. Of course, fall gold is still winding through there. Who knew that a zone 4 raspberry would do better than anything else up here? And then over here is the blackberries that we'll see how they do this year. Last year was a big disease disaster. So hopefully this year it's not so bad, and we will be able to maybe get some fruit off them. Still trying to get a pollinator for Stengelson. I actually had someone reach out to me on Facebook the other day and ask if I had Stengelson, because they're trying to get it and there's no place to get it in the country anymore. And I said, yes, I do, but I never got in mind to actually produce fruit. So, which could be for any number of reasons, including viruses, which I don't want to spread those around. So, anyway, yeah, that's another shot of the blackberries up there. And the wild treasure, for those who follow, is underneath this diagonal white pole. It's just in front of that pole. Yeah, I think that's the one. we'll be just waiting for that to melt off. I don't dig that one out. I just wait for it to melt off because it's not very hardy. So anyway, we'd love to have that one back producing. I've got about 8 more of those, I think, out of about, I don't know, 50 or so that I bought. I think I still have 8 down here, like my finger, down here in this area right here to the east of the vineyard. I think I've got 8 wild treasures down here that come up every year. The canes don't survive because they don't protect them or anything like that. They're just sitting down there, and they come back, they grow a little bit, and I need to transplant those back up here with the other wild treasure, and then start figuring out how to protect them better over the winter so that they will survive and produce 5 or 8 pounds of fruit per bush. Would be fantastic. Oh my gosh, the taste of those is just phenomenal. Nothing like homegrown, and then they taste like strawberry blackberries. So anyway, it's really good. So anyway, that's the status right now. Waiting for the snow to start melting. We don't want it to melt too fast because then it causes erosion, but right now it's probably about 36 degrees, 5 or 8 mile wind out of the, feels like the southwest today, maybe out of the west. And Denali is not out. Denali would be over here. And then over this direction, gosh, nothing's visible today. There's the Mount Deborah, Hess, and Hayes over here, but they're all clouded in today. So, but we are done with the snow, I think, for now. That's good. So anyway, we will keep you posted and probably put up another video once the snow's all melted, and we can go out and visit some of the bushes that we're watching, the grapevines that we're watching. We've got like 8 or 9 experiments going this winter, spring, summer, so it's going to be some continuing on from last year. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Anyway, have a great evening, and hope it's warmer where you are.